In a big mansion, the young butler approached the quiet mansion with a composed but uneasy look. Stopping before a door, he knocked softly and called to her. When no answer came, he opened the door with careful hesitation, announcing his entry as worry shadowed his eyes. As Arks stepped inside, Eleonore rushed to him with a force born of fear and longing, grabbing hold of him before he could say a word. Her breath trembled against his shoulder, petals scattering around them like the remnants of a storm she'd barely survived. She demanded to know where he had been, her voice sharp with panic even as relief softened her expression. Held tightly in her arms, Arks could only murmur her name, startled by how fiercely she clung to him, so much so that the girl once known as a feared Yandere Villainess now seemed entirely overcome by her devotion to him. Arks reflects on the world he now lives in, the kingdom that once existed only as the setting of a popular Otome game. Eleonore, whose intense devotion now overwhelms him in reality, had been notorious in the game for her cruel deeds and destructive paths. Surrounded by the cast of major characters, she had always stood at the center of dramatic routes and countless endings. But Arks himself remembers something crucial: in every storyline the game ever offered, someone like him never appeared. He was never meant to matter in this world at all. Arks admits that being a background character never truly bothered him. In this crowded game world, he remembers almost nothing of his past life, only that he once lived in Japan. Unlike the usual reincarnation stories where the protagonist uses past world knowledge to excel, he recalls nothing useful. The only thing that remains clear to him is this one Otome game, and for reasons he can't explain, it's the sole fragment of his former life that refuses to fade. Arks reflects on his quiet life in the orphanage, aware he has no family in this world and no special role to play. He wonders why he was even reincarnated here, yet he refuses to believe his life will stay insignificant forever. Even as a powerless background character, he imagines the possibilities: wielding magic, attending a prestigious academy, or stumbling into some life-changing chance. The thought sparks a faint hope that somewhere out there, an opportunity still waits for him. Determined to make the most of this world, Arks throws himself into daily training. With a wooden sword in hand, he practices with fierce energy, each swing sharper than the last. His strikes meet his opponent's weapon with forceful clanks until he finally drives the man back with a decisive blow. Even without special powers, he works tirelessly, hoping effort alone will carve out a place for him in this world. Arks wins the match with ease, leaving his opponent laughing in defeat and admitting surrender. The villagers cheer in excitement, amazed that he managed to defeat every adult in town. Standing there catching his breath, Arks realizes his hard work is already beginning to show results. Arks laughs off the praise he receives, unable to admit he only trained so hard because he had nothing else to do in this world. A younger child looks up to him, asking if they could become strong like him too, and Arks encourages them with an easy smile. He knows his strength is mostly useful for protecting the village from nearby monsters, and he doesn't expect it to lead to anything grand. Even so, the village director approaches with warm applause, offering genuine congratulations that make Arks stand a little straighter. The director praises Arks warmly, insisting that someone as capable as him could even become a knight one day. Arks laughs off the idea, thinking it impossible for a commoner, yet the compliment still makes him glow with shy pride. Then the director's smile softens, and he mentions that he has a favor to ask, leaving Arks curious about what he could possibly want from him. Arks finds himself sitting nervously inside an elegant mansion, his heart pounding as he wonders why he's been brought somewhere so luxurious. The director reassures him, explaining that someone in this place has been eager to meet him. Hearing that, Arks can only stare in surprise, unsure why anyone important would want to see him at all. A refined nobleman enters, introducing himself as Adalbert, the count who governs the region. Arks is stunned that someone so important has come to meet him. The count explains he's heard of Arks' achievements and has summoned him for a significant favor. As the director confirms Arks is the boy they discussed, Arks can only wonder why someone of such rank would need anything from him. The count finally reveals his request. He wants Arks to become a friend to his daughter. The wording leaves Arks stunned, wondering why a noble would go so far just for that. The count hints that his daughter has a troublesome side, which only makes Arks more nervous about what kind of girl she might be. Then he calls her in Eleonore, prompting Arks to realize something important just as she enters the room. When Eleonore steps in, Arks freezes in shock. The girl the count wanted him to befriend is none other than Eleonore. She introduced herself with calm politeness that contrasts sharply with the infamous reputation he only now just remembers. Arks panics internally as he remembers who Eleonore truly is in the game, the ruthless villainess who tormented the heroine, dabbled in curses, and eventually became the final boss. The idea of befriending someone like that leaves him frozen with dread. Yet the count cheerfully encourages them to talk, while Eleonore timidly steps forward, leaving Arks wondering how he's supposed to befriend the girl who once embodied pure malice in the story he knew. Arks walks beside Eleonore through the estate's garden, painfully aware of how awkward the silence feels. While he struggles with the situation, she calmly comments on how beautiful the garden is and how it never grows dull to look at. Her quiet sincerity catches him off guard, leaving him unsure how to respond. As they walk, Arks realizes Eleonore barely shows any expression, which only makes him more tense. Yet when he actually looks at her, he can't deny how striking she is, quiet, graceful, and far more beautiful than any girl he's seen. Even with her aloof demeanor, something about her draws his eyes, leaving him unexpectedly captivated. As they walk, Arks notices Eleonore suddenly stop and lower her head, her small frame trembling with uncertainty. Worried he may have upset her, he gently asks if she's feeling unwell and suggests they return to the mansion. But she only curls in on herself further, leaving Arks confused and concerned by her sudden change in demeanor. Eleonore finally lifts her head, her voice barely above a whisper as she assumes the worst, that Arks doesn't want to be her friend. It catches him completely off guard, leaving him stunned and speechless as he realizes how deeply his awkwardness affected her. Eleonore lowers her gaze and quietly assumes Arks must despise her like everyone else, calling herself accursed. She admits people avoid her because they fear misfortune just from being near her. The weight of those rumors hangs over her, leaving Arks stunned by how deeply they've hurt her. Eleonore explains how people once approached her only because she was a noble's child, but the moment they saw her black eyes and hair, fear took over. Rumors of her being cursed spread quickly, and even harmless gestures were mistaken for dangerous magic. Soon, no one spoke to her at all, only cold, fearful looks remained. Eleonore tells Arks she's already used to being feared, believing people are right to react that way. As she reaches toward a rose, it wilts at her touch, a sight that makes Arks jolt in shock. Her quiet resignation and the eerie withering of the flower leave him speechless. Eleonore reveals the full extent of her power, showing how anything she touches withers, its color draining away as if life itself recoils from her. Arks watches in shock, realizing her magic is far stronger and far more frightening than he ever imagined. Even plants, and possibly people, crumble at her touch. Eleonore looks down at her hands, her voice soft and resigned as she tells Arks he should understand now, she's a cursed child. Holding the withered flowers, she accepts this as an unchangeable truth, leaving Arks stricken by how calmly she carries such loneliness. Arks realizes for the first time just how much Eleonore has suffered. The Count's request echoes in his mind, and Arks begins to wonder if his reincarnation had a purpose after all. If he stays by her side, if he reaches out to her now, maybe he can change the tragic fate she was destined for. Arks makes up his mind. If this world is heading toward the tragic ending he remembers, then he'll change its course himself. To save Eleonore and guide the story toward a happy ending, he realizes he must grow closer to her and prevent the bad end from ever happening. Determined to change her fate, Arks tells Eleonore she isn't frightening at all. He insists she's nothing to be feared and, flustered but sincere, blurts out that she's unbelievably beautiful. His sudden confession leaves Eleonore stunned, her cheeks flushing as she tries to process his words. Eleonore worries her power might hurt someone, but Arks refuses to let that be the end of it. He insists there must be a better way to use her strength, and even if things go wrong, he promises he'll find a way to deal with it. His resolve leaves Eleonore staring at him in stunned disbelief, as the wilted roses behind him slowly bloom again. Arks steps toward Eleonore with quiet determination, telling her he wants a future where no one suffers, including her. His sincerity leaves her trembling, and when he reaches out, the roses in her hands bloom once more. Overwhelmed, she looks up at him, and he gently asks her to be his friend. Her eyes widen in surprise as the moment marks the beginning of a changed fate for them both. Memories of cruel voices echo in Eleonore's mind, people calling her cursed, a devil, something filthy to avoid. Curling in on herself, she relives how everyone shrank away from her. But as she trembles inside the dark haze, she suddenly notices something approaching. Eleonore trembles in the dark, calling out for her mother. When the figure steps closer, she lifts her eyes in confused. Eleonore looks up in trembling hope, whispering the word again as if confirming it to herself. Eleonore reaches toward the woman she thought was her mother, but the woman coldly tells her to stop and not look at her with those eyes. The rejection hits her instantly, her breath breaks, and she collapses into apology after apology, trembling as the pain of being unwanted sinks in all over again. Eleonore dreams of her trauma and apologizes for even being born. She wakes up gasping, and Arks, worried, rushes to her side, asking if she's okay after seeing her suffer through a nightmare. She wakes up confused, and Arks gently explains she fell asleep in her room from exhaustion, which is likely why she had a bad dream. She looks blank and tearful from the nightmare, startling Arks, who panics as she suddenly starts crying. Arks hugs her as she cries, comforting her. Her heart steadies as she realizes she already has a friend now. Eleonore is afraid of getting close to Arks because she believes her curse will only hurt him, just like people told her whole life. She thinks he would be happier with someone else. Arks rejects that idea completely. He tells her that no one goes through life without hurting others, and being with her would make him happy, not unhappy. When she tries to pull away emotionally, he grabs her hand to stop her, showing he genuinely wants to stay by her side. Arks finally says clearly that he wants Eleonore and no one else. Hearing this, Eleonore hesitates for a moment but then accepts his feelings. She bows slightly, asks him to please take care of me, and the two officially agree to get along as friends. Eleonore apologizes again out of habit, but Arks quickly tells her she never needs to. He even jokes that his chest is always open for her to cry on. His sincerity makes her smile softly, admitting he truly is kind. Arks tells her he only did what any friend would, but Eleonore grows uncertain. She quietly admits she's never had anyone she could even call an ally, and wonders if she's worthy of being his friend at all. Arks reassures her that friendship isn't something she has to perfect, it comes in many forms. He tells her he simply follows what feels right, reminding her that communication improves with practice. Hearing this, Eleonore begins to see that she can learn how to connect with others, one step at a time. Arks suggests they take things slowly, and Eleonore agrees with a gentle smile. He reflects that life is far longer than we think, there's plenty of time for them to grow, learn, and move forward together at their own pace. A few weeks later, Arks realizes Eleonore has changed a lot. She cheerfully shows him blooming flowers, offers him pastries, and excitedly points out the stars, completely different from the withdrawn girl she used to be. Overwhelmed, Arks thinks her transformation is way too dramatic. Even now she keeps calling out to him with bright energy. Eleonore leans in, pouting as she asks if he's even listening, and Arks snaps out of his thoughts, flustered. Even so, he can't help smiling, because her liveliness now is so cute that it genuinely makes him happy. Eleonore gets annoyed, asking if something is more important than her question. Arks immediately panics and denies it, taking her hand and sincerely telling her, "There is nothing more important to me than you, Eleonore-sama." Eleonore immediately bursts out laughing, finding his sudden ego boost funny. Arks starts bragging to himself, saying he is actually quite handsome. He imagines girls fawning over him, then gets flustered when she pushes him to answer her actual question. "Just tell me what kind of clothes you like." She wants his fashion preferences, while he's busy daydreaming. Eleonore's father, Adalbert, shows up and asks to speak with him alone. Eleonore instantly looks upset. Adalbert apologizes to Eleonore and takes Arks away for a talk, and Arks realizes she's mad or worried. Eleonore pretends she doesn't care that Arks was taken away, acting annoyed and turning away. But Arks leans in close to her, calling her name gently. Arks gently tells Eleonore that anything would look beautiful on her as long as she's the one wearing it. She blushes hard at the compliment. Meanwhile, her father watches silently from behind, clearly noticing their closeness. Eleonore's father tells Arks that the request he made earlier has been approved. Arks will officially join the Yansiness household starting next week. Arks is thrilled and thanks him, but Adalbert hints there's still something serious he wants to say. Adalbert then asks if Arks is really okay with the arrangement, since he could have offered Arks a place to live. But Arks politely insists that he doesn't want to use Adalbert's position or rely on his authority. He's genuinely grateful just to have a job. Hearing this, Adalbert is taken aback and impressed. He can't believe such a mature and responsible answer is coming from a 7-year-old, and he praises Arks as truly admirable. Arks realizes that Adalbert chose him to be Eleonore's friend because he understood her situation and treated her kindly. He smiles and says he'll do his absolute best for her. Adalbert is impressed that Arks grasped so much on his own. But before starting his new role, Arks says there's one thing he wants to do first, hinting at something important he has planned. Eleonore is upset because Arks took too long talking with her father. Arks hesitates at the door, realizing she's genuinely mad. When he knocks and calls her name, she sits waiting with a sad, frustrated expression, showing she wasn't just angry, but also anxious and hurt that he kept her waiting. She's pouting and obviously angry, thinking he must have been having fun while she sat alone worrying. Arks kneels and officially introduces himself as Eleonore's personal attendant. This is something he asked her father for earlier. He wants to stay by her side, support her, protect her, and help her not feel alone anymore. Eleonore is overwhelmed and emotional because Arks is choosing to stay with her not out of obligation, but because he wants to be with her. This scene shows the mansion in the middle of preparing for an important event. The main hall is being set up, and all the staff members are running around trying to fix last-minute problems. Some issues come up, like not having enough glasses, and the aperitif, the welcome drink, being changed, so they need to quickly contact the supplier. Everyone is rushing to make sure everything is ready in time. It's basically pre-event chaos, with the staff doing their best to get everything perfect. 3 years have passed since Arks became a servant in Eleonore's household. Eleonore is now almost 10 years old, which is considered an important milestone in their world. Ages that are multiples of 10 are celebrated with big, lavish parties. Because of that, everyone in the mansion is extremely busy preparing for Eleonore's upcoming birthday celebration. Arks is overwhelmed by all the chaos but also notes that this will be his first time attending a noble's party. A maid called Nanai tells him the hall preparations are finally complete. Arks is exhausted from all the party preparations. Nanai checks on him, notices he looks tired, and thanks him for his hard work. She tells him that thanks to him, everything is ready for Eleonore's birthday party. Arks is relieved to hear that, but then he starts feeling uneasy, as if something is bothering him even though he doesn't know why yet. Arks, even though he's only 10, has somehow ended up in charge of organizing Eleonore's big birthday party. All the servants keep running to him for instructions because he's efficient, reliable, and smart. Arks is confused about how he ended up as the boss, since he only gave some simple, practical advice based on his past life's common sense. Nanai praises him, saying he's amazing not just because he has good ideas, but because he takes action and leads by example. Arks feels overwhelmed but can't really deny it. Arks says all his hard work is for Eleonore's. It's their first big party since they met, and he wants to make it special so he can see her truly happy and smiling. Because of that, he doesn't mind being tired at all. He then uses his magic. He immediately uses healing magic, Revitalize, on himself to recover his energy. Nanai is shocked because he suddenly looks completely fine, changed clothes, and is ready to go train. He cheerfully tells her, "Let's do our best," and says he'll see her tomorrow, leaving her stunned by how energetic he is despite everything. Arks is training alone at night, slashing at a practice dummy until he's exhausted. Just as he decides he's done for the day, someone suddenly calls his name from behind, surprising him. Eleonore reveals she's been watching Arks training for a while, surprising him. He panics and apologizes because he didn't notice her at all. Then he scolds her gently. "Why would you do that? You'll catch a cold." Eleonore then say, "Even so, Ark will warm me up, right?" Eleonore basically hints that she wants Arks to warm her up personally, not with magic. Arks is completely caught off guard. Arks panics internally, thinking, "Isn't that something you could do yourself?" Eleonore shyly admits she's upset because Arks has been so busy that he barely visits her anymore. She tries to cover it up by saying it's because he's her servant and should stay by her side, but it's clear she just misses him. Arks, flustered, apologizes sincerely and explains he really has been overwhelmed with work. He explains that everything he's been doing is to make her birthday celebration truly magnificent. Hearing that, she calms down. Though still a little embarrassed, she accepts his explanation and admits that tomorrow is an important day, so she can't really complain. Eleonore hesitates, then quietly asks Arks if he ever feels lonely living in their mansion without his own family. Arks is surprised by the question and reassures her with a bright smile that he isn't lonely at all. Adalbert and the servants treat him kindly, so he feels comfortable and welcomed. Eleonore, however, looks troubled, clearly hoping for a different answer. Eleonore walks off clearly upset, stomping as she goes. She tells Arks to take care of everything tomorrow, but she's cold and distant. Arks is confused and wonders if he accidentally made her angry. As they walk, he sneezes, showing he really was cold. Adalbert begins the party with a formal greeting to the guests. While speaking, he quietly calls out to Arks. Arks responds politely, not realizing Adalbert has a private instruction for him. Adalbert then gives Arks a very serious command: eliminate all the pests who try to get close to her. He means that during the party, Arks must keep away anyone suspicious or anyone who might bother Eleonore. Essentially, he's appointing Arks as Eleonore's bodyguard for the event, very strict and maybe a bit scary father mode. Arks is unaware of the full intensity behind the command and casually says, "Yes, yes," without understanding how serious Adalbert is being. Arks is watching two boys at the party because they look familiar, but he's not sure from where. He stares a bit too long and gets worried they might have noticed him, so he quickly turns away. When he checks again, they've already disappeared. At that moment, Adalbert begins the announcement for Eleonore's entrance. Everyone looks at her as the star of the party. She's wearing an elegant dress, gloves, and looks far more mature and beautiful than usual. Arks sees Eleonore coming down the stairs in her formal dress, and he's completely stunned. His eyes go wide, and he's just frozen, overwhelmed by how beautiful she looks. Eleonore notices him too, and she gently smiles back at him. Arks watches Eleonore walk through the hall, and he's struck by how much she has changed. He thinks to himself that it's amazing how much she's grown in just 3 years and that she looks incredible tonight. Arks is thinking to himself that since he's overseeing the whole event, he can't stay by Eleonore's side, and he feels a bit disappointed about that. Nanai pulls Arks aside and quietly calls his name, clearly worried. Nanai then hesitantly explains the issue. She was supposed to be guarding Eleonore, but something happened. And Arks ends up sitting right beside Eleonore in front of the entire hall, and he's panicking inside, wondering how things escalated to this point. Everyone is staring at them, and Arks can practically feel their eyes on him, thinking, who was that boy next to her? He starts looking pale from the pressure. Eleonore notices and asks softly if he's okay. Arks, frustrated and embarrassed, mutters that of course he's pale and it's her fault for putting him in such an attention-grabbing spot. Eleonore just pouts in response, as if she expected him to deal with it. Eleonore complains that Arks is supposed to be her attendant, yet he's never by her side. She's upset that he's always busy elsewhere. Arks argues that a servant shouldn't sit next to the guest of honor, it's inappropriate. He's worried about how the other guests will view it. But Eleonore snaps back emotionally, saying, Arks is not just any servant. She clearly sees him as someone special and wants him close to her, even during the formal party. Eleonore points out something Arks never thought about. Since they're the same age, his birthday should also be celebrated. She says he should be honored too, not just her. Arks is shocked because he's always seen himself as just a servant. Eleonore then reminds him, no one is celebrating your birthday, right? Arks remembers he doesn't even know his exact birthday, so no one has ever celebrated it for him. That's why Eleonore said he should be celebrated too, because she knows he never had that kind of kindness before. He realizes Eleonore made him sit beside her as an equal guest of honor to give him his own celebration. She wasn't just being selfish earlier, she genuinely wanted him included. Arks is touched and thinks she has a beautiful heart. Arks reflects on how much Eleonore has changed. She used to be gloomy and pessimistic, but now she's grown into a kinder, more confident girl. He thinks there's no way she could ever become the final boss she was supposed to be in the original story. Eleonore wants him to be celebrated too, but Arks humbly tells her, it's an honor, but just having her celebrate for him is enough to make him happy. Arks is focused on making sure Eleonore's birthday party goes perfectly, saying he's doing everything for her sake. Eleonore, flustered and blushing, tries to invite him to spend time with her afterward, but she gets too embarrassed to say it properly. Meanwhile, Arks suddenly remembers the two suspicious boys who disappeared earlier. He grows worried and thinks, I hope nothing happens. Eleonore excitedly leans toward Arks, feeding him food and acting unusually clingy, sparkling with happiness. Arks, however, feels overwhelmed because everyone at the party is staring at them, shocked that a servant is sitting so close to the guest of honor and even being fed by her. Arks internally panics, thinking he's stuck in this situation. Meanwhile, one of the suspicious boys approaches and says hey. A boy steps forward and politely asks Eleonore to dance with him. Arks recognizes him immediately, he's the same suspicious guy from earlier who had been watching them. Arks looks at him closely and suddenly remembers where he's seen him before. His face appeared in the game system screen from Arks' past life knowledge. This means Arks realizes exactly who this boy is in the story's world. Arks finally remembers who the boy is, Razer Kilmond, the son of a viscount. In the game Arks remembers from his past life, Razer was older when he appeared, so Arks didn't recognize him at first. Arks recalls Razer's personality from the game. He has a bad mouth and a rough, violent attitude. But he becomes deeply loyal to the protagonist, and that unexpected contrast is what made him a very popular character. Razer steps forward confidently and repeats that he wants to dance with Eleonore. Arks is shocked because he realizes who Razer is, one of the romance targets from the Celestia Kingdom in the game he remembers. Eleonore misunderstands the situation for a moment. When she hears dance, she thinks Razer might be asking her, so she asks quietly, dance, with me? She seems confused, maybe even a little nervous, because Razer is being very direct and forceful. Meanwhile Arks stands there caught between them, unsure what's about to happen. Then Eleonore flatly rejects Razer's invitation. She doesn't hesitate, she just says I refuse. Razer is shocked and angry because he expected her to accept. Eleonore explains why. She simply has no desire to dance with him at all. While saying this, she starts blushing and admits, besides, which implies she actually wants to dance with Arks, not Razer. Razer, furious and insulted, lashes out, unable to believe she turned him down so bluntly. Razer gets angry after Eleonore rejects him, so he reaches out toward her. Before he can touch her, Arks instantly steps in and grabs Razer's wrist, stopping him. Razer is shocked and lets out a groan because Arks' grip is unexpectedly strong. Arks then gives him a cold, threatening glare, silently warning him not to lay a hand on Eleonore. Razer is furious that Arks stopped him, so he yells, "Know your place, servant," but Arks doesn't back down at all. He calmly introduces himself. "I'm Arks Leafort, Eleonore Sama's attendant." Then he states his job. My job is to protect Eleonore-sama. While saying this, he tightens his grip on Razer's wrist. Arks finishes firmly. And I intend to fulfill my duty. Razer winces and stumbles back because Arks' strength surprises him. Razer is shouting, saying Arks' restraint is brutality, insisting he only asked Eleonore to dance. He's acting like he's the victim. Arks stays calm and warns him. Please, calm down. If this situation escalates, it'll bring shame to your family. Razer demands to know why. Arks explains. Because Razer is a Viscount's son, and Eleonore is the daughter of a higher-ranking noble. If someone of lower rank harms a higher noble or even her servant, it becomes a serious political problem. Razer pretends to calm down, acting like he'll drop the issue if Arks lets him go. Arks realizes Razer isn't stupid, just a spoiled brat, and releases him. Razer then smirks, showing he's not actually backing off. Razer suddenly attacks Arks the moment Arks lets go of him. Arks is caught off guard and gets knocked back by the blow. Arks is completely fed up with him and quietly thinks, what a pain. Razer charges at Arks again, shouting in anger. Before Razer's attack lands, Arks calmly casts a sleep spell right in front of him. Razer gets hit by Arks' sleep spell, he becomes drowsy, collapses, and falls asleep right on Arks. Arks immediately calls out to Nanai, asking her to fetch both Killman-sama and Adalbert-sama to handle the situation. Nanai panics but agrees and runs off. Eleonore rushes over to Arks, clearly worried. Arks immediately asks if she is hurt, but she ignores that and snaps back, telling him to worry about himself first. Then she gently cups his face, checking him over and asking again if he is okay. Eleonore gently checks Arks' face and notices the swelling. Arks brushes it off, saying it's nothing. But she looks genuinely relieved and says she's so glad he's safe. Eleonore looks shaken and emotional after everything that happened, and, clearly still affected by seeing him get hurt. Razer's older brother shows up and immediately kneeling and bowing with his head to the floor to apologize for Razer's behavior. He's begging Arks to forgive his little brother. Arks is shocked, but he quickly says not to worry about it. Arks asks him to lift his head because Caesar is being too formal. Arks recognizes him as Caesar Killman, another love interest from the original game. Caesar is the kind, gentle prince type, very popular with players. Arks realizes Caesar probably has a hard time dealing with his troublemaking little brother, and he's the responsible older brother doing the damage control. Arks asks Caesar if Razer really wanted to dance with Eleonore. Caesar admits yes. Caesar explains that Razer is spoiled rotten, so he believes he deserves anything he wants. Caesar feels guilty because he once told Razer, ask any girl you like, and now this mess happened. Arks internally thinks, is he a grade schooler, because Razer acts childish. Then he realizes, well, yes, they literally are grade school age, so it makes sense. Arks asks what will happen to Razer after causing trouble. Caesar hesitates, then explains the truth. Razer will probably be punished very severely. In fact, Caesar says that exile is the least punishment Razer might receive, depending on what Adalbert-sama, the father/head of the family, decides. Arks is shocked because exile is a huge punishment, especially for a child. Arks hears the word exile and gets overly excited because it feels like something straight out of a fantasy story. Then he realizes that reacting that way was bad. Arks explains that even though Razer is only 10, in this world he's already treated somewhat like an adult, so his actions have serious consequences. Arks thinks that maybe it would have been better if Razer stayed asleep so he wouldn't have to face punishment. But Arks also senses there's more to the situation, something important. Arks realizes something huge. By knocking out Razer and preventing the original event from happening, Razer's entire romance route in the game is now closed. In the Otome game, Razer was supposed to be one of the love interests. But because the story changed, his path can no longer happen. Arks wonders if the whole world is starting to move away from the game's original plot. And with that hope, he thinks, if Razer's route can change, maybe Eleonore's tragic fate can change too. Eleonore runs to Arks, worried because he was gone for a while after the fight with Razer. She asks if he's okay. Arks smiles and reassures her. He's completely fine. The only reason he took so long was because Razer and Caesar had to apologize properly. Plus, there were witnesses, so nothing serious happened to him. Arks apologizes to Eleonore because he feels like the fight with Razer ruined her birthday party. He's embarrassed and thinks he caused trouble. But Eleonore immediately rejects that idea. She gets upset that he's blaming himself and says, none of this is Arks' fault. The blame lies completely with Razer, who acted terribly. She even calls Razer a bandit, showing how angry she is on Arks' behalf. Arks is blaming himself again. He thinks the whole incident with Razer happened because he didn't remember the game's story soon enough. He believes that if he had checked the guest list earlier, he could have prevented Razer from being invited at all. He feels guilty and thinks he was careless or naive. Meanwhile, Eleonore is watching him quietly. She can tell he's blaming himself too much, and she's about to respond, likely worried and wanting to stop him from putting all the responsibility on his own shoulders. She calls his name gently. Eleonore suddenly steps forward and grabs Arks' face with both hands. She does this because she can see he's blaming himself too much, and she wants to stop him and make him look at her directly. Eleonore tells Arks that as long as she has him, she doesn't care about anyone else. This is her way of reassuring him. She wants him to stop blaming himself and understand that he is the person she trusts and values the most. Arks is shocked because this is extremely direct and emotional coming from her. He didn't expect her to say something so intense and heartfelt. Eleonore is embarrassed but trying to cheer Arks up. She tells him the party isn't necessarily ruined, and then, gathering her courage, she asks him, "Would you like to go outside with me?" Arks casually asks Eleonore if she danced with anyone at the party. She answers, "No, I didn't dance with anyone." Her expression shows she's a little embarrassed. Arks is surprised because he assumed she must have already danced with someone. Eleonore tells Arks that she rejected every boy who asked her to dance. Arks is shocked and asks, "Why would you do that?" The narration explains that, in noble society, dancing is very important. It's how people build social bonds and show status. So turning down every offer is unusual and even socially risky. Eleonore finally admits why she rejected everyone who asked her to dance. She tells Arks that she wanted her very first dance to be with him. She blushes and explains that she even wanted to ask him the day before, but she didn't have the courage. Arks finally understands why Eleonore was acting weird earlier. She was nervous about asking him to dance. He feels unsure and asks if she's really okay dancing with someone like him, since he's never danced before and doesn't feel confident. Eleonore reassures him by saying she's not very good at dancing either, and then hints there's another reason she wants to dance with him. Eleonore leads Arks to a quiet, hidden spot outside where no one can see them, not even the moon. She's trying to reassure him so he won't feel nervous about dancing. She tells him that even if he messes up or trips, she'll be the only one who sees it, so he doesn't have to be embarrassed. Eleonore formally holds out her hand and asks Arks to take it, inviting him to dance. Arks responds politely, saying the honor is his. Then the scene shifts to the two of them actually beginning their dance together under the night sky, looking at each other closely. It's a romantic, gentle moment showing their first dance. Right after Arks and Eleonore dance, a bunch of nobles suddenly rush up to Arks. They're super impressed by him and start desperately trying to recruit him, offering money and even asking him to become a servant in their household. Arks is completely confused and overwhelmed, hence his expression. Arks now understands why all the nobles are crowding him. They were impressed by how he confronted Razer and how skilled he was with magic. They're excited and keep trying to recruit him. Arks gets overwhelmed and tries to calm himself before politely turning them down. But then he notices Eleonore from the side. Arks tells the nobles he can't work for them because he's Eleonore-sama's servant. He says it proudly and without hesitation. Eleonore hears this and gets flustered, then super happy, because it sounds like Arks is choosing her over everyone else. So the long birthday party has finally ended. Arks thought he could relax now that everything was over. Arks realizes he still has to help clean up after the party, even though he thought the event was finally over. He's tired and wishes he had an easier job next time. While he's working, someone knocks on the door and calls out to him. Nanai arrives and happily announces that the entire cleanup is already finished. Arks is shocked, and she explains that everyone worked faster because they were inspired by how hard Arks was working. Arks realizes the cleanup went fast because everyone worked harder after seeing him do his best. He feels a bit embarrassed, but Nanai tells him that Eleonore enjoyed the party, so all his effort was worth it. Arks smiles, agreeing that making her happy was enough for him. Nanai says that watching Arks today reminded her of a birthday party she once made for her childhood friend when they were both orphans. The party was small, but she did everything just to make her friend smile. Seeing Arks work so hard for Eleonore made her feel the same way she did back then. Nanai casually comments that Arks and Eleonore seem like childhood friends, so he's shocked and confused, thinking, childhood friends with her. In the Otome game, Arks knows Eleonore never had a childhood friend. But Nanai is talking as if Eleonore did have one. This makes Arks think, wait, is there someone like that in this world? Did that ever exist in the game's story? He realizes something is off, meaning this world might be different from the original game more than he thought. He already knows he's not supposed to exist in the original game story, so changes in the world should feel normal to him, but this change, Eleonore supposedly having a childhood friend, makes him feel uneasy. Arks is still shaken from his uneasy feeling, so Nanai notices he looked distracted and asks if he's okay. He brushes it off, saying he was just lost in thought. Another maid calls Nanai for help, so she leaves, still cheerful and energetic. Arks replies yes, but he's obviously tired and mentally drained. His thought bubble shows what he's really thinking. I gotta finish my work too, so sleepy. Arks suddenly remembers something important. He was supposed to visit Eleonore after the cleanup, but he accidentally fell asleep. Now he panics. This is bad, because he forgot. She'll be upset about this for a week. He knows Eleonore will take it personally. Arks goes to Eleonore's room to apologize for being late, but everything is silent. He knocks and calls her name, expecting no answer because it's already very late. He assumes she's asleep. Since she doesn't respond, he thinks, I'll just apologize tomorrow morning. No point waking her now. But just as he's about to leave, her door creaks open by itself. Arks suddenly gets dragged by a dark force coming from inside the room. He loses his balance, slips, and falls hard to the floor while shouting in shock. Arks looks up and realizes something terrifying. Dark, shadow-like tendrils are spreading across the floor. He has no idea what they are, as the darkness creeps closer. Arks is panicking because Eleonore is nowhere to be seen right after those dark shadows attacked him. He calls out her name, looks around desperately, and worries. Where is Eleonore? Is she okay? Arks tries to stand up, but the shadowy dark substance has paralyzed him. My body won't move. He realizes he's being restrained. This is bad. I have to get up. Then he sees someone's legs wrapped in shadows, and he panics. Eleonore shows up in front of Arks. He's confused because just a moment ago he thought something bad had happened to her. But when she appears, he's surprised and unsure what's going on. Arks is shocked because Eleonore appears surrounded by dark, shadowy energy, the same strange darkness that attacked him. She's standing in the middle of a pool of dark, shadowy energy, something unnatural and dangerous. Her expression is emotionless, almost as if she's not fully conscious or is being controlled. Arks calls out Eleonore, Sama, because he's unsure if this is really her. When she quietly says, Arks, it makes the moment even more tense. Eleonore suddenly appears acting completely normal, like her usual bossy, spoiled, cute self. She scolds Arks for being late, tells him he hasn't been eating enough, and excitedly brings him special sweets she made. Arks is confused because just a moment earlier, she was surrounded by dark shadows and looked terrifying and unnatural, but now she behaves as if nothing happened at all. Arks hesitates to eat the sweets because Nanai would scold him for eating so late. But Eleonore immediately says she'll be his partner in crime. Then she suddenly leans in and tries to feed him the sweets herself, acting cute and affectionate. Arks is completely overwhelmed and confused, thinking, how did things even end up like this? Arks asks, what was that magic you just used? Eleonore asks calmly for tea, but she's still surrounded by the dark aura. Arks is scared and obeys, realizing something is definitely wrong with her. Eleonore tells Arks that the strange dark power around her is her Celestia, the unique magic every person in this world is born with. Arks is shocked because he's never seen her use magic before. Her Celestia looks nothing like normal magic, it's dark, ominous, and spreading unnaturally. He asks, since when, because this is completely new to him. Arks already knew that Eleonore's Celestia in the original game was a dangerous, corrupted power. In the game, she used this exact dark magic to hurt people and cause tragedies. It was part of her villainous route. So when he sees her using that same power now, in real life, he panics because this is the same magic she used for horrible things in the game. He's afraid this means her dark fate is starting. But she's behaving kindly toward him, which doesn't match the game at all. So his fear isn't of Eleonore herself, it's the possibility that her tragic game storyline is repeating. Eleonore explains that her dark power, her Celestia, started leaking out about a month ago, right after she woke up one morning. She didn't choose it, and she wasn't trying to hide it to be sneaky or threatening, she simply didn't know how to control it. Arks is shocked because that's a long time to have such a dangerous power without telling anyone. He's worried because in the game, this power is what leads to her downfall. When he asks, why didn't you tell me, Eleonore begins to answer. Eleonore admits she didn't tell Arks about her power because she was afraid he would hate her. She's terrified of being rejected, especially by him. Arks tries to reassure her, saying that's not true. But inside, he admits something honestly. Seeing her dark Celestia up close was frightening. It made him realize why, in the game's story, she was labeled the cursed child and enemy of humanity. Eleonore tries to playfully show Arks that her Celestia isn't only scary, it can be useful, like extra hands to carry things. She's forcing a smile, trying to make him less afraid. Then she explains what happened earlier. When Arks was pushed down, she panicked, and her Celestia power leaked out on its own. She didn't mean to use it, it was a reflex because she was worried about him. Eleonore remembers the moment earlier when Arks suddenly rushed in and protected her. She was shocked, and her dark power reacted. And everyone staring at her with fear or doubt, which made her finally realize something important. Eleonore thinks she really is cursed. Her dark power keeps leaking out no matter how much she tries to control it, and it scares her. Because of that, she believes Arks will eventually abandon her like everyone else. She says this while smiling sadly, even though she's clearly hurting inside. Arks tries to reassure her that he would never abandon her. Eleonore reveals that the person who once told her she was cursed and then disappeared was her mother. Arks is shocked because Eleonore has never mentioned her mother before. In the game's story, her mother never appears at all. He realizes this is a huge missing piece of her past that he didn't know about. When she was small, her magic was unstable and scared everyone around her. Her mother was the only person who still accepted her, holding her and comforting her while everyone else rejected her. But when Eleonore turned 5, her mother also left the mansion and never came back. People say she returned to her family home and likely doesn't plan to see Eleonore again. Ark is shocked because this is the first time he realizes how completely alone Eleonore has been. Even her own mother abandoned her after being the only one who stayed. Ark is realizing how much Eleonore has suffered. When they first met, her eyes looked sad and empty. Now he finally understands why. Her childhood was full of rejection, fear, and abandonment, leaving deep emotional scars. Eleonore believes her loneliness and suffering are her fate, something she can't escape. Ark is thinking about Eleonore's past. He knows he can't change the fact that her mother abandoned her. Eleonore is convinced that she is unwanted. She believes she is a burden to everyone. Ark reaches out his hand while thinking, even if her mother left, I won't. Ark grabs Eleonore's shoulders and calls out to her urgently, Eleonore-sama, because he wants her to listen. Eleonore is shocked, she wasn't expecting him to reach out like that. Ark then thinks, I want to accept her as she is. Ark is trying to pull Eleonore out of her despair. She believes she's fated to be hated because of her dangerous Celestia, but Ark refuses to accept that. Ark is reassuring her that despite her power or what others might think, he doesn't believe she deserves to be hated and he won't abandon her. He gently tells her, I'll keep holding your hand. Ark panics because Eleonore goes silent after his big emotional confession, so he thinks he messed up and probably sounded weird. She isn't rejecting him at all, she's touched. His awkwardness actually reassures her. Eleonore then starts to smile and chuckle. Eleonore smiles and admits something heartfelt. She was actually hoping Ark would say those words. All his worries about sounding weird or overstepping were unnecessary. His reassurance is exactly what she wanted to hear. Ark, relieved and determined, gently touches her face and tells her, I'll say it as many times as it takes, because I mean it. Ark is holding Eleonore gently, and in his thoughts he says, I want to protect her, as a friend, as a servant, and this means he's realizing his feelings go beyond duty or friendship. Ark is thinking about why Eleonore became the villain in the game's original story. At first, he always assumed it was because of the discrimination and loneliness she suffered since childhood. But now, after hearing her talk about her mother leaving, her fear of being hated, and her belief that she's cursed, Ark realizes something important. Eleonore didn't fall into darkness just because of society. She fell because she had no one who stayed by her side. And then it hits him. In the original story, her childhood friend Ark wasn't there for her. As her childhood friend, he suddenly understands. In the original timeline, Ark, didn't stay by her side. Without him, she had nobody she trusted. That loneliness is what pushed her into darkness. From what we just talked about, it's clear now. It means Eleonore became the villain because she lost everyone she relied on, including him. This is the moment Ark realizes. If he wants to save her, he must stay by her side. Eleonore finally confesses how fragile she truly is emotionally. She tells Ark, if you were ever to leave, I think I might just fall apart. This means Ark is the only person she trusts completely. Losing him would break her emotionally. She's terrified he'll abandon her the way everyone else has, her mother, society, even the original game story. Ark is shocked, shown by his stunned he didn't realize just how important he is to her. This moment confirms what Ark just figured out before. In the original story, Eleonore fell into darkness because she lost the one person she needed most, him. Now she's openly admitting that he's the one holding her together. Ark suddenly remembers the cruel truth of his situation. He isn't meant to stay in this world forever, he's supposed to disappear. While Eleonore is clinging to him, terrified of losing him, Ark realizes that he will be the one to leave her someday, not by choice but because of the story's fate or the nature of his existence. He's shocked and devastated because he now understands how deeply she depends on him, and how badly his disappearance will hurt her. Ark reads the game's information about Eleonore's future and realizes the truth. In the original story, Eleonore becomes the final boss. The reason she falls into darkness is because she loses a close friend. That close friend is Ark. In the game's timeline, Ark dies before age 15, which causes Eleonore's emotional collapse. His death is the trigger that makes her turn into the villain who destroys everything. So Ark understands. If nothing changes, he will die in 5 years, and Eleonore will fall into darkness because of him. Eleonore is smiling and acting happy, but Ark can feel something dark inside her. When she says, "Let me believe what you said," she means she desperately wants to trust him. Her Celestia, her dark power, is convinced Ark will betray her someday. It's not Eleonore herself accusing him. It's the darkness inside her, shaped by her trauma and abandonment issues, whispering, "He will betray you." Ark senses that this belief is rooted deep inside her heart, the same fear that pushes her toward the final boss route. Ark is training extremely hard with the sword, even though he's exhausted and covered in cuts. He insists I'm fine because he's desperate to get stronger. Why? Because he wants to protect Eleonore and avoid the future where she falls into darkness and he dies. So he keeps pushing himself past his limits, refusing to stop. Ark realizes he has 5 years or less before the future where he dies and Eleonore becomes the final boss. So he pushes himself relentlessly, refusing to rest. He keeps swinging his sword because he believes, if I become the strongest by then, I can protect her and change that future.